Baltimore, also known as Charm City, has a deep history immersed in black culture and resilience. It's comprised of several neighborhoods with some disadvantaged communities in peril from an unpleasant combination of poverty and crime. Baltimore's current state undermines the term Charm City, as there's nothing charming about averaging over 300 murders per year. Hosting a population of over 600,000 citizens, in 2019, the city recorded its highest per capita murder rate, ending the year with 348 homicides, according to the Baltimore Sun. This is an average of 57 murders per every 100,000 people, almost a murder a day. Infamously referred to by some as Bodymore Murderland, the dangerous climate here lends a gloomy outlook on the city's future. While many populations are affected by homicide, African Americans are among the most affected. Additionally, Baltimore is the most severely impacted. Baltimore's violent crime rate ranks above the national average. The CDC's most recent data from 2017 reports Maryland's homicide rate at 10.2%, compared to the U.S. rate of 6.2%. The rate of death by firearm is 12.3%. However, the FBI has Baltimore's most recently recorded rate from 2017 at 57.8% compared to the national average of 5.7%. Exposure to community violence, including witnessing shootings and hearing gunshots, has a devastating effect on the city's youth. In 2016, the youth homicide mortality rate in Baltimore was 31.3 per 10,000. As with the rest of the United States, homicides and non-fatal shootings are the leading cause of morbidity and mortality in youth aged 15 to 24 years, according to BaltimoreCity.gov. The ramifications of living in a crime-ridden city are severe. The reasons for the crimes are many, including everything from poverty, drugs, and gang violence to jealousy. Baltimore Sun released the Homicide Administrative Unit's 2019 Victim and Suspect Analysis Report. Of 348 murders, 89 of the victims were ages 18 through 24. 16 of them were ages 10 through 17, and 6 of the victims were under 10. 22 of the victims were juveniles. Youth ages 24 and under made up almost 33% of the murder rate. The murder victims are not just people with sketchy backgrounds. Most are familiar with the story of Taylor, a 7-year-old that was shot and killed in 2017 while riding in a car with someone who was being shot at. Recently, 21-year-old Destiny Harrison, a talented hairstylist and entrepreneur, was shot and killed in front of her 1-year-old while working in a salon she owned. There's also Devin Chavez, a young father and inspiring barber who was gaining increasing fame for his innovative techniques in celebrity clientele. He was gunned down in front of his home right after returning from a work trip. There are just too many victims to name. According to the CDC, homicide is the second leading cause of death. The CDC estimates that 50,000 people violently die in the U.S. every year. Children and teens in the U.S. experience staggeringly high rates of gun deaths and injuries. Annually, 3,000 children and teens ages 0 to 19 are shot and killed, and 12,700 are shot and wounded. The effects of gun violence extend far beyond those who lost their life. An estimated 3 million children witness a shooting each year. They become co-victims and are also harmed when a friend or family member is killed with a gun, when someone they know is shot, and when they witness a shooting or hear gunshots or live in fear of the next shooting. African American youth in urban areas are exposed to violence more than their peers of other races. A study of 7-year-olds in an urban neighborhood found that 75% had heard gunshots, 18% had seen a dead body, and 61% worried some or a lot of the time that they might get killed or die. Black children and teens in America are 14 times more likely than their white counterparts to die by gun homicide. Black children are also 10 times more likely to be hospitalized for a firearm assault than white children. Growing up in a city where opportunities are slim and your life is constantly in danger leaves the youth with little to no hope. Exposure to trauma causes mental health issues like acute traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, depression, and anxiety, to name a few. Research has cited increased prevalence of mood disorders, anxiety disorders from exposure to violence for Black adolescents, as well as ethnic differences in externalizing behavior. In researching ethnic differences among Black, white, Hispanic, and Asians and exposure to traumatic events, development of PTSD, and treatment seeking for PTSD, Roberts et al. Found that the lifetime prevalence of PTSD was highest among Blacks at 8.7% compared to their Hispanic and white counterparts at 7% and Asians at 4%. Disproportionate exposure to violence for the urban African Americans contributes to disparities in long-term mental and physical health. Gun violence is concentrated in specific neighborhoods, with certain communities experiencing gun violence at an alarming frequency. Children exposed to crime, abuse, and violence are more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, suffer from depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, have poor school performance, resort to aggressive and violent behavior, and engage in criminal activity. The issue of significant relevance to the field of social work is understanding that violent experiences of this age group and the social contexts surrounding these experiences can help improve their mental health and well-being. This issue is relevant to social work on a micro, meso, and macro level, as social workers can intervene and promote opportunities for health, healing, growth, and advancement with individuals, families, communities, and at legislative levels. This intervention is for mental health issues that arise like acute traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and anxiety. In addressing the issue of trauma exposure and mental health challenges that result, a keen level of cultural awareness and sensitivity is required, while using trauma-focused and person-centered treatment techniques to achieve the desired results. Key concepts also include social workers assisting clients in negating feelings of grief, despair, hopelessness, anger, and distress, and pooling social resources to help clients regain or achieve their maximum level of functioning. Understanding how trauma affects individuals, communities, and even policy is an essential component of identifying and implementing resolutions. Trauma-focused care is a critically important approach to responding to the residual effects of homicide here in Baltimore. The long-term goal will be for the client to reduce the severity of anxiety-related symptoms, acute traumatic stress disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. The short-term goal is for the client to learn and implement coping strategies at least 2 times per day as needed when feeling anxious, increase from 0 times per day within 4 weeks of attending therapy sessions. The objective will be for the client to be able to identify issues that are sources of anxiety and demonstrate improved cognitive functioning. The client will gain insight into triggers and make the connection between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Intervention. The clinician will practice from a holistic approach, employing a combination of trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, yoga, and art therapies, using mindfulness to assist the client in regulating intrusive thoughts and emotions. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is an evidence-based treatment approach that helps children suffering from trauma and or multiple traumas address the negative effects, including processing their traumatic memories, distorted and upsetting beliefs, overcoming problematic thoughts and behaviors, and developing effective coping and interpersonal skills. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is backed by a level of empirical support. This treatment can produce significant results in helping children process trauma and overcome the emotional and behavioral issues that result. Children participating in trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy show a wide range of improvements, including decrease in PTSD symptoms, depression, anxiety, behavioral problems, shame, cognitive distortions, and relationship difficulties. The cognitive behavior therapy protocol includes, but is not limited to, psychoeducation, relaxation techniques, effective expression and regulation, cognitive coping and processing, trauma narration, and gradual exposure exercises. Yoga has many benefits in general, like reducing stress levels by practicing relaxation techniques that help regulate stress hormones and stress symptoms related to pain, anxiety, and depression. Mediation also helps calm racing thoughts and increase impulse control, which can reduce rates of recurring intrusive thoughts. Both yoga and meditation focus on mindfulness and can be incredibly beneficial. There are many benefits to art therapy, including providing a healthy outlet for communication and expression, negating feelings associated with grief, decreasing the stigma associated with shame, and motivating positive behavioral change.